Welcome back to the Got Our Back podcast. Megan brought a special guest.
We haven't had a special guest in a while.
I know.
Bali.
Look how cute.
This is Taryn's new kitty for his 18th birthday. She's so sweet. She's a sphinx. Let's see if she lasts for the whole podcast.
I think she can do it. She can get some little girl time, little girl chat.
A little bit today.
So what does she do when, like, she just... I've never owned a cat, so I don't know, like...
We have 2 new cats, so...
You have 2 kitties. They're outside kitties. They're so cute.
Yeah, they're so friendly. Like, I want to bring them inside so bad, but they're barn cats, so they're there to chase all the mice away and the frogs.
Not be a barn
No
cat.
mice, no eggs. I mean, no frogs, no snakes, but you have...
It's super interesting because ever since we've got them, have not seen a frog, have not seen a June bug, like nothing. Like, it's crazy. It's just clean. Like, we don't have any of that because they hunt all night and then they sleep all day. They're super
Kitties
sweet.
are like, this particular one is more of like a lap. Like, literally, she likes to hide. So, like, here, like, now she's having a moment.
Girl, her claws are like... Oh, God.
Come on.
Like...
Let's see.
She's like, I'm not.
Go in here.
Oh. Do you,
I'm gonna let her
All
hide.
right. PETA's going to come after you.
girl, this is the most spoiled cat. Come on.
Are you gonna get in there? Okay. She may not make it that long, but if she doesn't, I'll let her get down on the ground.
Oh, she's so cute. He's loving it, right? I think it's hilarious that this is like your distraction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Like, he loves this kitty. I mean, he was just taking a nap, and I was like, "Where's the kitty? With me?"
Tell everybody what you're distracting him from.
Goodness.
Motorcycle.
Yes.
Oh, he wanted a motorcycle.
He was pressing her, so she's like, I'm going to go get a cat.
Well, he's been saying for months that he wants one. He called these cats ball sack cats. And I looked at them before, and it just so happened I like opened up my Facebook, and a friend from home like posted that his friend had some, and I'm like, I want that one right there. And so literally, like, I'm an impulse.
You know, she's
buyer.
impulse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, if you'll meet me in like halfway from Dallas, I'll buy it right now. And they came and met me, like literally got in the car. Right.
Oh.
She's so sweet. She's sweet.
So you know what I was thinking about whenever we were all hanging out over here last week when you had a DJ and there's like a dance battle going on in your living room? I was thinking about this generation. This is off topic, but I was thinking about this generation because like with Brian and his friends, they brought a group of girls around, and one was like hanging with one of the guys and they were all lovey-dovey or whatever. And then the next time she's just homie hanging out, and then there's another one. And this doesn't like affect this generation. It's so odd. I'm like, we would have never done that. Like, we would have never been able to like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with him again this weekend, even though he's got a new flavor or whatever. Like that just wouldn't happen. Like, but they're like unfazed. Like, didn't you think they were super unfazed? Like,
Yeah, because it's like the one girl started out trying to talk to Dee, then she started trying to talk to Bryla, then she came back this time and Dee had a different girl, and I was just like, what in the world?
Those are the days of their life.
yeah, I was like, and now they're just like hanging out like friends, and like now we've seen them like 10 times or something. So now we're like, okay, what's your name, girl? You've been here quite a few times.
Terrible names. I'm like, what? I'm like, I just call them the Oklahoma
Those girls are cute.
Yeah.
Those girls are cute.
Maybe they're just very secure with each other.
They definitely
They
are.
have to
This generation of girls are definitely like, no, that's not what I want. I'm not feeling that. And then they're not clingy. They're not like attached. They just have a whole nother, I don't know. I kind of like it. It is. I'm kind of like, wow, you're secure.
I was very clingy.
Don't know.
To Trent, I think. I was clingy to Trent. I'm just.
That's your man, girl.
No, like when we were first dating, like he always said, he was like, you showed up at my doorstep crying.
You did?
Did.
Oh my.
But I think it was because I was drunk, I think.
Why were you showing up crying?
No, I don't remember. I gotta ask him. Why.
Oh, man.
I did show up at his doorstep crying.
But anyways, that's another topic.
Always right.
But can we talk about breadwinners for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Talk about those Benjamins, baby.
All about the Benjamins, baby. What do you think about women being the breadwinners? What do you think about that?
I think it takes a very secure man in order for you to be able to do that. Like,
Man, if I was a dude and the girl was a breadwinner, I'd be like, I would be like,
Get it, baby.
I would be like, well, yeah, I would definitely be like, what do you need? Like, what you want? I would be like,
Especially now at this time and age, there's so many independent women
Yeah.
that, sometimes it's hard for them to even find someone that could
take
that
deal with it.
independence. But as women, yes, you love being independent, but there's nothing like depending on someone, whether it's finances or just comfort or, time, like.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it just, like in my scenario, it just literally like, I'm just very upfront and honest. Like with my current relationship, I was like, look, if you tell me now, if this is an issue, like we're not even going to begin this because, like this may not go away. Because for me, it's like I want to see somebody like we've talked about this, work ethic, right? So like it's not a dollar amount for me, but it causes issues when the man is not secure. And maybe we shouldn't have had
Her claws.
I'm being a wuss.
I get tickled.
Girl.
No, she has sensory issues.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
She's probably like, what is going on?
You can just go wherever.
Hey, girl.
It was the claw. It was like.
So that's like a topic that you guys had, like when you're dating? Like,
Absolutely.
what was the
I started
topic?
the relationship off with like, look, like, because with his job, like he's got a set salary. He might veer plus or minus another 50 grand, depending on his rank or whatever, like at his job. But like, it's not going to be what I make. And so I just don't want like this, like there's no future of you probably ever making more than me. So if this is going to be an issue now, it's going to be an issue later. So, and it was an issue before my marriage. I'm like, I have had to learn, like, I'm not going to dim my light to make you feel better. You know what I mean? Like, Megan has to go be Megan. And so, like, it does take a special man. Like, it's funny, I had a lawyer friend, and when I was going through my divorce, he was like, Megan, do not date a man that makes less than you ever again. And I was like thinking, like, well, that's a very small dating pool. You know what I mean? So it's just like, goodness gracious.
And plus, that's not like what's most important to you. That's not your love language or anything. I think as long as they're able to provide and to, be a leader and all those things. And I think that what you're wanting to see is good work ethic because that's important to you. So I think like those are more important than the dollar amount. So I guess if you know that like right away, it's like establishing that like not boundary, but expectation.
Yeah, I think so. What is it for you, Carrie? Because I know like in your previous, it's flip-flop for you now. And like, but what was it like in your marriage?
I mean, I was definitely the breadwinner. So, but I didn't mind it. I did mind it because I didn't mind it at first when I felt like we were both working towards a common goal. You know what I mean? Because I think people's situations change, but when it became stagnant for long stretches and periods of time, and when I would try to have conversations and things like that, and there was no desire to help or anything like that, it was just caused more like, I don't know, resentment is a great word for it. So, I never wanted that role. That wasn't something that I took on. I never thought my business would be like what my business is. So I wasn't prepared for it, but I think that you're right. Like it does make them feel some type of way. Now the relationship I'm in now, I mean, I'm just like, it's funny because he's very supportive, like of my business. So he's like happy. He wants to see it succeed. He does push me because I can like right now I feel like I'm very like I'm coasting, you know, because I'm happy and I'm just like, like I don't feel like everything's on my shoulders. So I think this is just like a moment to like breathe for me or whatever. But I'm also like, I'll tell him like, hey, I feel very like almost too comfortable. Like I need you to push me a little bit because I haven't been pushed in a long time. But like going through, that's what I was saying to him just like 2 days ago, going through a divorce, owning a company, being a parent, selling your house, moving, you know, all of those things wrapped into one. And I have different roles at work. I have clients, I have students, I manage, I wear a bunch of hats. So I think because I was just like overwhelmed, that kind of a lot of things went to the back, that it had to, because I was just like super overwhelmed. So I stopped doing social media, I stopped doing marketing, I stopped, I just kind of got very like
comfortable, like you're coasting.
Yeah, just coasting, like just surviving, I guess.
Yeah.
And now I'm stuck there. So I'm like, I need you to, and he does very well of like pushing me to be like, okay, what do you want me to do? How can I do it? What do you want to do? Let's do this. Like, you know, like he's like that because he's very business minded. That's a turn on for me because he's a leader and he knows business, you know, so I take his advice like to heart, where before I wouldn't take his advice. Like, you know what I mean? It would go in one ear and not the other because I'd be like, you don't know. So now I feel like I respect that because I'm not the one carrying all the load. I don't know. I like the masculinity that he has. I like the providing aspect. I'm not trying to get somebody to ever take care of me or anything like that, but it's nice to know like he's got my back, like if I need it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's just a different dynamic, but we're also establishing our roles. Like not really, we don't have expectations like you were saying. That's nice. Like he doesn't expect me to cook every night or anything like that. It's day by day. So I think we're just filling each other out and like what your responsibilities are and kind of what mine are and, you know, our day-to-day groove. Yeah. But I do like, I've never had a leader. Yeah. And so you'll see him out there like, if a light switch doesn't work, he'll pull all the wires out and rewire it. And he's like, and I'm like, how do you know how to do this?
MacGyver.
Yeah. Like literally he's a mechanic, like at heart, like he's a fixer. So anything you want done, he's like
so
already.
He's a fixer, you're a fixer.
Yes, but he's way more fixer than I am. So it kind of puts me in check because I see him. He's always fixing things. That was his Enneagram was like, I mean, he's a fixer, like true and true. Like, and he's a mechanic, so that I think it goes hand in hand. He's always fixing something. So sometimes I'm like, hey, or he'll be like, hey, are you wanting me to fix this right now? Or are you just wanting to like hear yourself talk? Because I can do that too. And I'll be like, no, I don't want you to fix it right now. I just want you to let me like say what I have to say.
I feel like it was funny when you first started dating. You would call me and you go, Megan, I don't know what it feels like. Like, you keep trying to pull my credit card out. And he's like, don't you even do it. Pull that credit card out.
I'm just now a year in, like, not taking my credit card with me. Like, still, like, if the check came to the table, I was still at least pulling it out because I didn't want to feel like a mooch or I didn't want to feel like I was a burden or whatever. Like, I don't know. It was just very weird to me because I've never had that. So I would, like, pull it out just so somebody could see it. Like, I got it. I can get it if I want, you know? Like, I don't know why I would do that. And so now I find myself, like, I don't take my purse with me or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, my gosh, Carrie, like, you have to, like, but it's just the difference in a man. You know what I mean? I know you know because Trent is a great provider and a great leader, and he takes great care of you guys. Even though you contribute and you have your thing and you have your roles and things like that, it's a great feeling.
But when he first started, you know, I worked full time. Yeah. You know, when I moved down here from Indiana, I was for a little bit because that's when he was just working. You know, like he was still trying to pursue what
his dream.
Yeah, he didn't know if it was good. We had no idea it was going to get to this, and I never bashed him. Like, how do you do that? Let's say you're dating somebody that like has a dream. Like, it's gonna take some struggle.
You can have a dream, but you gotta pick a dream. And you gotta see that through for a while. But if that is not, I think there's a line there. If that is not panning out and you're suffering for it and there's debt piling up and your person is like struggling. But one
thing about Trent, though, when I was working and I was the one paying, there was a time where I was like, Trent, I literally have nothing left every week, but I had to tell him that. And so he was like, all right. So then that's when he started, teaching classes at the gym, or he would train young athletes. So if he needed to pick up extra work to help me, he did not mind doing that.
Of course.
And so the fact that like when I was getting ready to give birth to Maya, and he was like, you don't have to go back to work if you don't have to. And I was like,
oh,
what? I was like, I want to because I was just doing so well at work. And I had a promotion and I got a raise. And I was like, I don't have to go back to work. And he was like, no, you don't have to. You could stay home and raise the kids.
And how did you feel? You felt like, how did you feel?
It felt great. Yeah. Like, because I was that parent that missed a lot. Like, Trent was the one that had to be at
Activities.
class parties.
That's the part
and-
that wore on me the most was missing out and feeling resentful for that, because you're the one putting in hard work, but you don't get those things that you're longing for. And after a while, it just builds up so much to where you don't even have a relationship anymore. So I think it's great if the woman can be the breadwinner. I think it's great, but I think there are seasons and I think there's phases. And like you said, helping them build, like have a vision, and you both have the vision and it's clear vision. Like you understand what it is, and maybe put a time limit on it if you have to, but always communicating if you're feeling overwhelmed or if you need help, or if you're out of funds, or if you're like, okay, I have nothing left. So what are you going to do for me? So I like it. Like I would be totally fine with being the breadwinner as long as I was treated properly. I didn't have to miss out on, the things that are most special to me with my children, because that's like super special to me. So if I'm having to miss out on those things so that you can pursue your dream, then I feel like that is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a situation where like there are dreamers, right? Like there are people that like they just like there are no get rich quick schemes.
My dad is a dreamer, and he was always a dreamer.
You won't put the work behind to apply yourself, like and sometimes those people don't want help, and so it's like like you can't tell them anything. It's like talking to a brick wall. You know what I mean? And so I just like I'm not going to support that kind of behavior. And you know what I mean? Like I'm a realist, and so it's real black. My personality type is super black or white. There's no like in the middle for me. There's no gray. It's, like it's here or there for me. And so, like I'm a firm believer, like you've got to put the work in. Like if people look like at my life now and think like, oh, I can just go, I can't tell you how many people look and say like, oh,
I'm going to go buy an insurance agent.
Yeah, I'm going to go be an insurance agent. It's so easy. You have no idea that for 20 years, like I literally started at zero and grinded. And I'm talking, sometimes worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs. I worked 12-hour days. I was not scared to work on the weekends. I pushed through. I struggled. I couldn't pay the electric bill. I did all of that, and I did it by myself. Like I hired a nanny early on, and she allowed me to, and I'm not saying that, my ex-husband didn't ever, stay late with the kids or anything like that, or he didn't help at all, but it just like he could have done a lot more. You know what I mean? Like he could have made my life a lot easier. And so, like I built something, and who knew that it would even turn out? Like I still look and like I know I put in a lot of hard work and effort, but I did it, myself. Like I would have loved to say that, and I did have support along the way, a lot of family, a lot of friends, my ex at moments, like I'm not saying he was never supportive. That's not a fair statement, because he was. It's just I just could have gotten a lot more help. You know what I mean?
For me, if you're arguing about it, it's not both of your vision. Like, I feel like that's a problem. That's going to cause a huge problem. With you guys had a goal, you had a vision, and it worked. You saw the progress leading up to that. For me, I was like, wow, we're both young. We both have potential to make a lot of money. Why would we both not go make a lot of money, and we'll get there faster? Like that was always my argument. Like, why does one have to be home? Like our kids are in school, they're old enough to do all this stuff. Like, why would this have to be the scenario? So that was always not adding up to me. And it was always like more selfishly, like, selfish time versus, actually working towards something. So I think because the vision wasn't clear, but I think it could actually like 1,000% work for sure.
And when you were talking about like coasting, I feel like I've been coasting kind of in like what I do the past year and a half, because we don't depend on what I do, like.
And maybe that's what it is too, that I'm not I'm not taking care of the whole house, and everything's not on my shoulders anymore. So I'm like, I can like actually come home, because sometimes Gabe's like, well, what's happening? Why are you here? It's 2:30, Carrie. You sure have been coming home early all week. Like, why aren't you, get back to work, girl, playing with me and stuff. But, I'm like, I can come home and I can watch my kids get off the bus, and we can go for a night swing, like we can like do all these things. So that's just not anything I've ever experienced for. So I'm just trying to like take it all in.
It is really good to have a cheerleader, because like what you said, like Gabe was put like, hey, there's you're just
I'm
throwing away
loving.
money. You could be having money.
He's
to
like,
do
what's
this."
happening? This is 3 days in a row,
Yeah.
Carrie, that you've been here at 2:30. What's happening, girl? Take your ass back to work. No, I'm just
So
kidding.
Trent
he's
actually
always-
told me that. He was like,
Yeah.
I know we don't depend on your money, but you're literally just letting it slip by. Like you're giving it to other people.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm just not in the mood. I feel like this podcast is
so
taking
many-
all my time and I love it more than making money.
I make so many excuses, Maria. I'm like, well, I haven't been, I just need to do this. He's like, this sounds like a lot of excuses.
But with me, like he knows that he feels so comfortable. Like let's say he didn't work for a while, he knows that I will figure it out. That's me. I'm
Get your ass in gear, Maria.
I will figure it out. I've done it before. I'm gonna do it again.
Better go make that manwich.
I can sharpen my resume. I got this. I can make people hire me. Anybody wants to hire me.
You didn't say it come
course.
out, but so it's clear, in your marriage, Carrie, for years, you were the only one working. And that's what it is. When you say it was all on your back, yours truly was all on your back. At least mine contributed,
And it wasn't with a
sometimes,
clear vision. It was just like, what is happening? How did we get here? You know what I mean? So then that fell. And then I started having some health issues and stuff because I'm a service-based industry. If I'm not actually working, I'm not making money. So, when you don't feel good or whatever, you're like, okay, I tag in, and somebody's refusing to tag in. It's just, that wasn't the plan. So I think because there was no communication, there was no plan. I didn't sign up for that. It wasn't my vision. I think that's completely different. So I would have loved to support somebody's dream and then flip flop or whatever. You know what I mean? Me and Gabe have amazing conversations about our future and a 5-year goal and what it's going to look like. Maddie's here for 8 more years. What are we going to do in the next 8 years? So I like having clear communication and talks like that where we have a plan, or at least we're kind of starting to have those conversations where 8 years sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And then we won't have any more kids in the house or anything like that. So
but you also don't want to build your dream. You have your business and then someone tries to overstep boundaries and take credit for it. Because that happened in both of our households. And with Gabe, it's totally different. He's just supportive and doesn't want any part of your business. This is our business or my business or whatever. Because it's that's your life's work.
And it's cool because he'll be like, hey, what do you need? I'll come to work with you. I'll come hang. I'll do this for you. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to get on the phone? What do you want me to say? Right? He will do it. He will, because he's such a great.
He's helped us with our sound for the podcast.
He's so
just
great.
nice.
He's just a jack of all
I know,
trades.
my sister's like, whose hand is that cheering with you?
Just Gabriel.
So it's funny because me and Trent have always talked about it. And for years, I was like, well, I don't want to be known as Trent Shelton's wife. I want to have a name for myself. And he was like, but why don't you want to be known as Trent Shelton's wife?
It's almost like it hurts his feelings.
It's kind of like a family building a legacy and they hire their children as a CEO. Why wouldn't you sharpen what I've already built? Why would you want to start something of your own? And I'm like, but I just don't want, I want to be known as Maria Shelton, not Trent Shelton's wife. He was like, but you are Maria Shelton, but you're also my wife.
You can have both roles.
You could have both. So it's kind of like that. Let's say you were, your insurance agency, you could hire and he could help you build, my thing is I know. Okay, maybe that's a bad thing.
No, it's so true.
I got the t-shirt, crashed and burned.
But I don't ever want people saying, oh, you are only at where you're at because of your husband.
But people that are going to say that, Maria, are not your people. And they're going to say it anyway.
And Trent's like, well, why not? You are my wife, and I've built what I've built.
And you helped build it.
Kids, for their kids, and and I was like, you know what, you're right. That is true. Because he talks about everyone's talking about Bronny James and how he shouldn't play for the NBA. But he works hard too. And LeBron James built that road for them to succeed in life. And if you're able to do it for your kids, it could be as little as
right. I mean, one day,
I
hope for it won't be Taryn. He wants to swim with the whales. But Spencer, I'm gonna have to put in another hard 20 years. But she's spicy enough. I mean, she's basically she looks like me, and both my kids
Acts
look
like
me.
you.
She acts like me. She's pretty.
She's spicy.
and so she is my
Caliente.
legacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if neither one of them end up being my
Yeah.
legacy, then it's you sell it and that's your legacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that it's like mine just wasn't a family business. You know what I mean? Like my ex had his own business. I have my own business, but like. I guess where I'm salty at, being honest, is like I know what I built and the time and the
Yeah.
effort that Megan put in, and it wasn't you. So don't try to take credit for what I've done. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you know, like that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
I think that's where you got to be careful with the breadwinner thing,
Yeah.
because if
And
it wasn't
clear
something that you agreed upon
Right.
and something that you're both working towards
Right,
and all
common
those
goal.
things, and you have that common, I think it just all goes back to everything else we ever talk about: communication and communicating exactly what you want
Yeah, if
and
you
they
put time
want.
and effort. It's different because
Yeah.
you've done a lot for Trent.
You were there
You're
before.
behind the scenes. Like if I had a Maria behind me, I'd be like, yeah, this is a family business. But I don't have a Maria.
We'd be going
behind
viral all the time.
me. You know, I didn't have.
We'd be pushing content every day.
Yeah.
We had a content creator in our house making manwidges.
Yeah. Dr. Pepper slushies. You know what I mean? Like going to Disney.
I'll go on a cruise with you. I'll be her
Just all the things. And so, you know, like, just don't take credit where credit is due. And I'm going to give it where it's due. But like, if it's not due, I'm not going to give it to you. Like,
And I can see where he's coming from too, because he's like, why do you want to operate separately? When
Yeah, why do you?
It took me a while to understand that.
Yeah.
right.
You know, but he was like,
But it's different
Y'all need to
because
form an
he's-
entity and then
Yeah.
just have your brands underneath it and all be
did that.
yeah, just
Because
have
before I had
everything
mine,
under
he's like,
one.
Why'd you open up your
And you
own?
have someone coming to you that is the breadwinner saying,
Yeah.
you know what, I want you to be a part of this.
Yeah.
I never came, you know, specifically to my ex and said, hey, like there was a time when it acquisitioned and said, hey, but that crashed and burned. I'm like, hey, I could use your help on this, but it crashed and burned. It didn't even last but, 4 or 5 months. And so
She fired him. Like you got fired. The roles were to reverse.
can't go work out and go get your toes done and get a massage every day. That's not working. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pay you for that. So it's just
Will you pay me for that? I'll do that for you. I'll go work out and go get
that's
my
not
nails done.
working. That's not
Oh
working.
man, I'll sign up for that all day
Trent
long.
probably think I don't work because I can get my lashes and my nails done every 2 weeks.
That's only on Tuesdays. If you are looking for Maria every other Tuesday, she's
Yeah.
got appointments
Yeah.
all day long. That's her day. Don't be coming in on her Tuesday. But I mean, for anybody out there listening that is a woman and that is taking on that role or thinking about taking on that role, I think it could absolutely work. I think you just have to understand a time frame or maybe establish like what that time frame is to give that other person.
So it's not about the money.
No,
It's not about the money.
No, it's
never about the money.
You can be there for somebody in
So
different
you will.
ways.
You're open to dating people.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Inviting
good.
me, but
She's like,
I think I've like cringed 3 times. I'm like, okay, we're not going to bite my hand. I'm like, I can't keep a straight face. But for me, it's just like you can help in different ways. But I think it's establishing a boundary. Like, hey, like, this is what this is. And if it's a problem for you, like we don't even need to go to dinner because like, I'm not like you. And if you're not firm, like when you say it, like it's not an issue. And if I see red flags going down the road where it becomes an issue, or basically if someone throws it in my face, about money, then guess what? Then it's like, that's a done deal for me. Like it's crossing a boundary and I'm not going to tolerate that anymore.
Okay, if you're the breadwinner, I have a question. Do you jump into like a joint account situation?
No.
Do you keep it separately? Like,
No,
what
not
does
until
that
you're
look
married.
like
I mean,
if you're married?
I was for 20 years. I pushed to have a joint checkings. It was my ex that he wanted to keep everything separate. His money was his money, but my money was his money. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he never had access, so he never truly knew
what do you think the right avenue is? Because I think people
I think that there has to be trust. And if you don't have trust, like, there were several times over the years that I would give him a credit card or whatever, but then he was not great with finances.
Yeah.
Maybe he ran it up. You know what I mean? So I'd be like, boop, taking that away from you. So it's just, there was never that trust factor there. So I think there's not a right or wrong answer, because a lot of men are breadwinners and they give their stay-at-home wives, it's like access to their checking account. I just wasn't in a situation where there was
Same.
trust.
I've never been in that.
And I wasn't in a situation where the other person wanted to have a joint bank account, so I didn't, like, it just wasn't on the table.
I remember one time in counseling, the counselor being like, you really need to, explore a joint checking account, and y'all can still have your separate checking accounts. And maybe you start with, you put a set amount in there every week or whatever's going to cover whatever finances you've established that's going to go in that. And then you're going to start there, and then you can kind of branch out eventually, but you keep your own, and then you have one. And that was like kind of like where they said to kind of start from. But I know everybody's household is different. So I've always had my own situation, never had to worry about anything, but that's me being hyper independent. You know what I mean?
What do you think? Okay, you going together as one. Is it 50-50?
Like getting married?
No, like, even just moving in, or like, is it 50-50 on bills, or is it
what if
like
it's super skewed?
Like, let's say
it depends, because like in our case, like, we do not make the same amount.
Yeah, so
and
is it
we don't.
percentage, or
So
like, how does that work?
for us, when we were sitting down, it was like, hey, of course we don't make the same amount.
Right.
We don't have the same amount of responsibilities. Like, I'm not going to put all this on you. I'm not going to put all this on you. You know what I mean? So we just had to figure out what felt good and what felt like, this would be helpful. This would be helpful. I would love that. We could revisit later or whatever, but it feels good to have the communication, to know exactly what's expected. So you're not like sitting there thinking, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? You know what I mean? Because that was kind of where I had never moved in with somebody, and I didn't want to be the person that was taking advantage of somebody, because I've been in that role before. So that would always kind of nag in the back of my mind. Like, I've always been the breadwinner. I'm hyper independent. I've taken care of myself since I was 12 years old. Like, I've had multiple jobs since I was 13. Like, I always had to take care of myself. When I bought myself my first car, I had to go in the bank and get my own loan, so I've never had somebody where I felt like I have somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that is just something to
Just laying it out on the table.
just to get used to, because I had that in the back of my mind. I don't want him to feel the way that I felt, or I want to be able to openly communicate.
I won't get into a relationship like that turns into a marriage again and run blind on finances, because that builds up so much resentment when you run blind all year long and you have no idea what your spouse makes until it's tax time, and then you see what they contributed throughout the year. You can do the math and you see what they made, and it's a huge like differential, and you're like, well, where the hell did all this money go? You know what I mean? Like, where did it go? And so then you're just feeling like, well, dang, like they had the means to help me and they just chose not to.
I think it's just about being open and asking questions, and them also being more transparent.
I think you should have a joint account. I totally think, like, to me, when you're getting in a union or whatever, like, you should share finances and should, like, the burden should never be.
And I think that's the scary part for people. But I think that's where trust comes in, because if you're not trusting that person enough to do that,
then why are
you
you
need to
married?
really kind of think about, is this my person? Like, if I can't trust them on this.
A marriage where it's like a stay-at-home mom, or in some scenarios a stay-at-home dad, but that is like openly communicated, and that is the roles that you guys decide to take on. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just like, in my marriage, he wasn't a stay-at-home dad. I was still paying a nanny and a babysitter and someone toting my kids back and forth, so it's just, you just like, I think it's just communication and trust.
It is. It always goes back to communication and trust. Can we just communicate and trust the person that we're with?
Because when I was the one working, and Trent still has this email to this day, and I think it's because it kind of gives him that feeling, or like where we started. I gave him a spreadsheet. Yes, I know, a spreadsheet.
Go figure.
Of like,
our best friend.
of like how much I make every week, what I pay, and how much I have left over every week. And literally, y'all, $40 a week
is what you had left over.
I had left over. And I was like, look, like, sometimes I can't even eat lunch because this is all I have.
Yeah.
But he was like, all right, I'll take this bill away from you. I'll take this bill. But it took communication, and I had to feel comfortable. Now, granted, I did kind of like woo-saw a little bit. And I told him years after we got married that I can't believe that this actually happened. But my mother-in-law came to see me and take me out to lunch. And she was like, something's wrong with you. Like, she had a feeling. She was like, what are you not telling me? And then so I just started crying. And I was just like, I don't have any money. Like, I don't have food. Like, oh my God, here I am. Like, it took me a while to like open up to that, you know? Oh, wait.
I'm going to start that up. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Because I was about to
No, keep going.
Okay. So, yeah. So she asked me, like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I don't have any money. You know, like, I don't have groceries. And she was like, Maria, how are you not telling me this? Like, we don't have to tell Trent. He said, I'm going to get with, you know, Papa George or Mr. Shelton, and I'll be back.
Aww.
And so she like gave me money. He was like, don't tell Trent about this. You know, like, this is between
And that was like
you
y'all's little secret. It
was our little secret. But I ended up telling Trent, and I was like, that's so funny because she knew, you know, and I'm like,
Women's intuition.
yes.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I never want you to feel like that. Like
That you couldn't come to
that
him.
you couldn't come to me. You know, I
Were y'all
should be the
living
first-
together?
Yes.
Y'all were living together?
Well, I think he was slowly moving.
Yeah.
He was like,
You just hadn't had that talk yet.
yeah, I want to be the first person that you ask, like, hey, I need $20. I'm that person, you know? And so and that's probably why I felt so comfortable with me being a stay-at-home mom, because
You'd had that talk.
You'd
You'd established
take
that.
care of it, you know? And then I started, you know, the whole social media thing. And I was like, okay, well, let me take care of my car note. Let me take care of paying my bills.
You were doing
and
a
stuff like that.
flip-flop.
Right.
So I took it back. And then now
How did that feel?
it felt great.
Yeah.
And so now then we actually like reversed it again. He was like, well, I kind of want to know like what's going, you know, so now he's getting all my money and he just pays for everything. And
Yeah.
that works for us. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
it
there's
took
a right or wrong
communication.
answer. Like, you can keep things separate and it work. It's just like you need to be able to have, there again, open communication and not have somebody that's defensive. You know what I mean? Like, you should be able to come. And if like, say there's a month where maybe my business is running tight and I say reel it in, like, you should be able to come to the person and be like, hey, like, we need to cut spending this month, or we need to not, you know, Uber Eats so much, or we need to, you know, like, you should be able to have those conversations. I just never was able to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that was another thing, another first for me with Gabriel, was just sitting down and saying, can we please have this talk? Because I'm always worried about it. Can we just have this talk? And he's like, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, what are you worrying about it for? But it's just me. You know what I mean? So he's like, okay, how about you this? And just knowing the expectation, and then knowing like
What you're supposed to get.
what I need to do, and that I am contributing, and that I'm not like being a burden.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't ever want to be that. I feel like a team I feel like if you're able and you want to help that person, you should be able to.
Yeah.
Whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whatever. I feel like at the end of the day, it's teamwork.
Right.
And it might not always be 50-50, and it might be 100, and you're just contributing in ways
Right.
or whatever. But I think it's just whatever works for you, and then how you feel comfortable.
Yeah,
It's
and
communication.
It doesn't have to
It's
be
so funny that everything is communication. What the hell?
Like-
Can we stop saying this?
yeah, it's all about communication, you guys.
Okay, so fast forward to at the end of every podcast, just communicate. No, I'm just kidding.
Just communicate.
Just work on your communication, and you will be great.
Friendships and relation and business
And trust.
Man, in money and finances, can we just
So
communicate?
it's not all about the Benjamins. It's all about communication.
It's all about the communication. I like that. I like
All right,
that.
guys, that was a good one.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Follow us on Got Our Back Podcast, Megs Unfiltered, Mrs. Maria Shelton, and Inspired by Carrie.
Bye.
Bye.